Jilida Dehumguk. We welcome you. Bienvenue. Willkommen. We are here today in our territory, and we acknowledge the chiefs and the community territory leaders, the chiefs. We want to thank everyone for coming onto our territory at this time when Indigenous people get a time to sit at the table. And it's a wonderful feeling. We are very blessed. And we hope and we want our children to be able to come home and to remain home. And this is a journey that we all get to take together. And I ask the ancestors and those looking after us, the Creator, Mother Earth, it's our duty to protect her. And this is the way forward. And thank you and bless all of you.
Thank you, Chief Peggy. And I would like to call upon Chief Maisel Joe of the Miawpukek Nation to deliver a few words. Chief Joe.
Wow, what a crowd. I want to take a few minutes of my 2 minutes and to say to the Prime Minister that I've been the chief so long, I actually was the chief when your dad was the Prime Minister. So that takes me back a few years. And I want to welcome the Vice Chancellor to this part of our beautiful, beautiful province, and all of you, and the Prime Minister and the ministers that's here. I'm so happy that you're here at this time. It means that as Aboriginal people, we're moving in the right direction. And that direction is not easy to come by, but it's a long, long, hard road that we fought. Just to be here is incredible. It's a historical moment in itself, just to be able to speak to all of you. And that's, to me, is one that I can tell my great-grandchildren about, the fact that I was the chief and young Mr. Trudeau was just a boy. That in itself is a good story. And Mr. Chancellor, we do have a gift for you. If you can make your way to our booth afterwards, we do have a gift from our community made by one of our Mi'kmaq artists. So if that's okay with you, we will welcome you. And Mr. Prime Minister and the Premier, I think we have a long ways to go, but we're getting there step by step. With that, I think I've used up my 2 minutes. Malalio, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Chief Joe. We will now proceed with remarks by the signatories. Maintenant, j'aimerais inviter le Premier ministre du Canada, Justin Trudeau.
Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Gudie, for that introduction. It is such a pleasure to be here in Stephenville with Chancellor Scholz, Olaf, and Vice Chancellor Habeck. Robert, thank you so much, along with an extraordinary delegation of German business leaders and potential partners, but already friends, as we look towards an exciting and bright future. Premiers, Blaine, Dennis, Tim, and Andrew, thank you so much for being here as well. It is a demonstration of the commitment of not just one order of government, but of all orders of government, and indeed all Canadians, in building a better future. Yes, with good jobs here in Canada, but a positive impact everywhere around the world, particularly in our friends like in Germany. I want to also recognize the rest of my team, Minister Wilkinson, Minister LeBlanc, Minister O'Regan, and everyone here from our Newfoundland and Labrador caucus. Of course, a big shout out to everyone from the private sector joining us, the folks who worked so hard to set up those booths and put forward their projects. I really hope everyone takes some time to see the extraordinary work and the extraordinary potential that came together very quickly to showcase the exciting opportunity and future that we are building here together. We're here today because of a shared vision for the future we want to build, where our workers have good jobs, where our economies are strong and resilient, and where our kids breathe clean air and inherit a healthy planet. That's why we're here, and that's why the agreement we're signing this afternoon is so important. The Canada-Germany Hydrogen Alliance is a historic step forward for our shared future. Our target is clear: working towards initial exports of Canadian hydrogen to Germany by 2025. And our outcomes are clear as well: creating middle-class jobs and local growth while delivering clean energy that will help fight climate change. This is a modern alliance for a modern world, where a healthy environment and a healthy economy go hand in hand. En formant l'Alliance pour l'hydrogène entre le Canada et l'Allemagne, on franchit un grand pas vers l'avenir. L'accord conclu aujourd'hui prévoit une collaboration sur divers plans, qu'il s'agisse d'attirer les investissements dans les projets liés à l'hydrogène ou de développer notre corridor commercial. Ici, chez nous, c'est un vote de confiance envers l'innovation canadienne et nos travailleurs. Et c'est un vote de confiance dans l'avenir du Canada comme leader en matière d'énergie propre. A few minutes ago, we saw some examples of exciting Canadian hydrogen innovation. German companies are already signing deals to buy made-in-Canada hydrogen. There is no doubt the demand is there. Of course, when it comes to energy security, the imperative is there too. Canada will always stand by our European allies, including Germany, in the face of Russian aggression. We've already pulled forward planned oil and gas production to add supply to the global market. But for tomorrow, we must look to resources like hydrogen, which can and will be clean and renewable. We can be the reliable supplier of the clean energy a net zero world needs. There are always skeptics. There's those who continue to say that hydrogen is far off or even uncertain. But that's not what we've seen today. Because we've seen where the world is going on energy. Russia's illegal, unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine has caused in the short term energy pressures that we are working very hard to try and counter and support as a supplier of energy to the world. But that invasion of Ukraine has also accelerated the path towards the future we knew was coming. A future where we're not simply no longer reliant on Russian oil and gas, but where we reduce our reliance on oil and gas altogether and transition towards the cleaner sources of energy a net zero world requires. But make no mistake, even as we pivot towards net zero, energy needs in the world, as quality of life goes up in the global south and everywhere around the world, the need for clean energy is almost limitless. And that's where Canada, and Atlantic Canada specifically, gets to step up. With our renewable resources, we have a huge advantage. But the great advantage when we talk about Atlantic Canada, or any part of Canada, is Canadians ourselves. Hardworking, ambitious, willing to build stronger communities, a better future for ourselves and our neighbours, be they down the street, around the bay, or on the other side of the world. And that's what we are here to celebrate, to launch, to begin. And I say begin knowing that many of these technologies that are being harnessed and developed very rapidly have been around for years, for decades even. But the opportunity we have to accelerate, to step up, is extraordinarily exciting. And Canadians, we know that sitting back and waiting for others to figure out how to build a cleaner future is not where we want to be. It's not how Canadians continue to lead on energy and a better future. Stepping up now is how we deliver good jobs, how we deliver growing economy, how we deliver a cleaner future, and how we continue to make the case that open, responsible, free democracies are the right solution. We cannot, as a world, continue to rely on authoritarian countries that will weaponize energy policy as Russia is, that don't concern themselves with environmental outcomes or labor rights or even human rights. People around the world want to know that they are participating in positive aspects of the economy with their food, with their purchases, with the energy that drives their lives. That's where Canada has an unimaginably great opportunity to step up. Notre vision pour l'avenir et nos objectifs communs sont clairs. Pour les Canadiens, pour les Allemands, pour tous nos amis à travers le monde. De bons emplois, des économies fortes, de l'air pur et propre. Again, thank you so much, Olaf, Robert, all of our friends for being here today. I'm now very pleased to turn it over to Chancellor Scholz.
Prime Minister, dear Justin, honourable ministers and premiers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this warm and windy welcome here. Before my trip to Stephenville, I have learned that you have a world-class wind corridor here. You can imagine that as someone who has been living in Hamburg and close to the North Sea for many years, I appreciate coasts with strong winds. Regarding renewable energy, the German coast, however, cannot keep up with the conditions you have here. Hydrogen will play a major role in our future energy supply, especially in sectors that are difficult to decarbonize otherwise, such as industry, shipping, aviation, or heavy traffic. According to our National Hydrogen Strategy published in June 2020, Germany expects a need of 90 to 110 terawatt-hours hydrogen in 2030. We plan to build substantial electrolysis capacity in Germany. Still, we have to cover the majority of our hydrogen demands by imports. And we have to keep in mind, the prognosis I have just mentioned is based on figures prior to the Russian war of aggression. As a consequence, our need might be even higher under the new circumstances. We believe that Atlantic Canada presents a huge opportunity for us, but also for Canada to contribute to a green energy transition. Canada is a close and like-minded partner in the energy transition. We have to talk about short-term constraints and LNG, but in the long run, the real potential lies in green hydrogen from the wind-rich thinly populated Atlantic provinces. Best proof for this potential are the companies represented here with their projects I could just learn about. Since the beginning of our bilateral energy partnership, hydrogen has been a focus area within the constructive cooperation. I look forward to the signing of the joint declaration of intent on the Canadian-German Hydrogen Alliance later today, which will intensify our cooperation on this important technology and shift it to a more strategic level. The time to act is now, not only in order to reach our ambitious climate targets and secure our energy supply, but also in view of international competition. Canadian and German companies are well positioned in the hydrogen technology market, but producers from other countries, especially China, the US, are gaining more and more market shares by scaling up their production capacities. Therefore, we need to take action in order to maintain and further expand our front-runner position. To this end, all stakeholders must work together and contribute to our common success. The governments have to create the necessary framework for future investments. Companies will only invest in climate protection if they can play ahead and if they have a level playing field. Companies should work together in order to bundle and complement their strengths. Research institutions should cooperate to address the need for research and development more quickly. It is challenging, but I'm positive that together we are able to reach our goals. And I can see that it is already happening. German companies are planning projects together with Canadian companies here in Canada. Canadian companies are implementing energy projects in Germany. I'm pleased that Uniper as well as E.ON concluded off-take agreements of green ammonia with Everwind Fuels. FSG and Ocean Tex will sign an agreement on carbon-neutral shipbuilding. This is the path we need to pursue. In German, there is a saying originated from the Spanish novel Don Quixote we use for a hopeless campaign against an unchangeable condition, to fight against windmills. Here in Stephenville, we certainly do not fight against windmills. We fight for wind turbines, we fight for a clean energy supply, we fight for a substantial contribution to limit climate change. And I look forward to working together with you on making this real. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Scholz. I would now like to invite the signatories and the witnesses to take their respective positions at the signature table. The signatory for Canada is the Honourable Jonathan Wilkinson, Minister of Natural Resources. And for the Federal Republic of Germany, His Excellency Robert Habeck, Federal Minister for Economic Affairs and Climate Action. The Prime Minister of Canada and the Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany will be witnessing the signing of the document. Friends, this is such an historic day for Canada, for Germany, for the whole world, and especially right here in the Long Range Mountains. We will all remember this day, and our children and our grandchildren will look back and thank us for this day. So we are witnessing the signature of the joint declaration of intent between the Government of Canada and the Government of the Federal Republic of Germany on establishing a Canada-Germany Hydrogen Alliance. Nous témoignons de signature de la déclaration d'intention conjointe entre le gouvernement du Canada et le gouvernement de la République fédérale d'Allemagne concernant la création d'une alliance entre le Canada et l'Allemagne pour l'hydrogène. This will be the photo everyone will want. Chancellor, come forward. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Chancellor. It is truly an honor to have you all in my province of Newfoundland and Labrador this evening. And as always, it is now my pleasure to invite my Premier, Andrew Furey, to speak.
Well, thank you, Gudie. I think I'm going to take a moment and just let this all sink in. 2 G7 leaders in Stephenville. Let's give a round of applause for that. Chancellor Scholz and Prime Minister Trudeau, thank you both for being here today with our many distinguished guests. This is truly a historic announcement that is important not just for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador or the people of Canada or Germany. It's important for the people of our world. We all know that we are in the midst of an energy revolution, and Newfoundland and Labrador has what is required to be a leader. We are all familiar with stories of climate change as they are dominating the news across the globe. Our current climate emergency requires our immediate collective attention and commitment to acting on change as an action item in every decision we make as leaders. Now, Newfoundland and Labrador is a province that has lived, struggled, and thrived for centuries off our natural resources. It's a relationship that has defined us. It has determined the direction we want to go and afforded us the opportunities to get there. We were once solely defined by our fishery. Then we discovered and developed oil fields in the middle of the North Atlantic. We have harnessed the power of our rivers. But who knew that wind would be the next big step forward in this journey? Now, if you live here, you know it's something that we have an abundance of everywhere across our beautiful province. It's one of the reasons the trees aren't very big. Not far from here, in fact, is a stretch of highway known as the Wreck House, where wind warnings are frequently issued to prevent transport trucks from literally blowing off the highway. So building wind farms here just makes sense. That combined with the deep water ports, a robust marine labor force, the most easterly point of North America, and the collective will of all parties involved make this an even greater force of nature. But there's something more. It represents a new approach to reimagining global supply chains based on new technologies and a shifting geopolitical landscape. These, my friends, are generational steps. We are beyond thrilled that those first footsteps are being taken here in Stephenville, in Newfoundland and Labrador. But this is more than just sharing energy and more of our collective will to reimagine a supply chain. It fortifies the importance of democracies in the face of autocratic rule. It reinforces our collective shared beliefs in democratic values, freedom, equality, justice, fundamental human rights, and the rule of law, of working together amongst democracies for all our tomorrows. Now, would it be too grand to call these the wind of change? Maybe not. But the level of optimism is truly palpable in the air. And we're so excited to see where this takes us next. The winds of opportunity blow beyond my beautiful province's coasts and blow strong across Atlantic Canada. And I'm proud today to sign with my fellow Atlantic premiers and friends, King, Higgs, and Houston, a joint commitment to create green, clean fuel. Newfoundland and Labrador has recently also engaged in positive discussions with your city, the City of Hamburg, regarding a declaration of intent on hydrogen cooperation that is much like what our national governments signed here only moments ago. Hamburg's ambition to be a hydrogen hub for Northern Europe and our goal here to be the same for Canada make it an ideal partnership. And I look forward to signing that declaration of intent when I visit the International Wind Conference that will be hosted in Hamburg next month. My friends, united in the collective goals of climate change and democracy, we will face these challenges head on, but with the wind at our backs. Thank you very much.
Premiers. I'd now like to invite our 4 Atlantic premiers to sign their intent. I really think, though, the Premier, Andrew Furey, had wind in his eye before this, because for those of you who've seen our tourism ads, we always have the quilts on the clothesline blowing in that wind. I think he had this in his mind for a long time. I was at a round table earlier today with the 4 premiers and the proponents, and the incredible enthusiasm in the room was truly touching. But the one thing was how everyone agrees to work together. All the industry, the municipalities, the premiers, all levels of government are here to make this work, and the enthusiasm around that table was incredible. So it's got that let's get it done attitude, and trust me, my friends, with this group and this group, we're going to get it done. Thank you, my friends. Yes. Thanks, love. Thanks. Again, thanks to the Atlantic premiers. I'd now like to invite my friend Chief Brendan Mitchell of the Qalipu First Nation to the podium to offer some warm words of farewell.
Thank you, Minister Hutchings. I'm so honored to be here today on behalf of Qalipu First Nation, all of our people, of all Indigenous people in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, to talk about this project. It's incredible. When I walked into this building today, I knew something significant was going to happen. I wasn't entirely sure until a while ago when I heard the Prime Minister speak. Chancellor Scholz spoke. Premier Furey spoke, and others. And then to see the signing of these documents by Vice Chancellor and by Minister Wilkinson, and then to see signing by the premiers of New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, Newfoundland. We don't often have you here together in an event like this, but this is significant for this area. It's significant for our province. It's significant for Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people alike. and that group includes all Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I'm really pleased to be here to speak to you. I'll try not to be too long. I don't get the Prime Minister in front of me very often. I just want to say to you, Prime Minister, thank you. I haven't seen you since the royal visit in St. John's. Throughout Canada today, and well, before today, we've talked a lot about reconciliation, haven't we? So I stand before a person, an individual, our leader, who puts reconciliation into action. Reconciliation is about moving forward together in this true spirit of mutual respect and positive change. Prime Minister, I want to say thank you for everything you've done for Indigenous people and our relationship and the work you've done to bring Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people together in this country. Thank you so much. And we have another great supporter in front of me here with the red tie. He sprung up on that board a lot quicker than I did, I'll tell you that. He's in better shape than I am. Premier Andrew Furey has been very supportive of all of us. Not many premiers in this country take the time to have a conference call every week with the 5 Indigenous leaders in this province and some of the staff. And it's never about him telling us what to do. It's about us explaining opportunities and issues. And we have many. And this is an incredible opportunity we have here today, supported by our own Premier, supported by the Government of Canada, supported by Germany. We have a lot of other federal ministers here. I don't think I've ever been in a room with so many distinguished people. And members of the press and general public are all here. Members of Qalipu First Nation, our chiefs are here. Our local band chiefs are here. This is incredible. This is an important moment in the development of this province, in the development of our communities. We're tired of having our young people leave this province and going away to work somewhere else and never coming home, but always wishing they could come home. Now we have an opportunity together to make sure that our young people have a chance. In the world of Indigenous people, we think 7 generations forward. We're thinking about children not born yet and what this project would mean to them. This is significant. Leadership, in its simplest definition, can be defined by doing the right things right. We know that wind energy and a hydrogen development in Stephenville on the west coast is the right thing to do. What we have to make sure is that we get it right when we do it, because we can do this. We can do the right thing wrong. We can. We can even do the wrong things and do them right, and heaven forbid, we can actually do the wrong stuff and do it wrong. So this is an opportunity for us together in the development of this project, in the development of technology, in the development of our communities, to get this project right for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, and to get it right for people of Canada. In all of our relationships with people in countries like Germany or anywhere else in the world, we try to work together. This is a project about collaboration. It's about unity, working together. We need a lot of that, don't we? Yes, we need compassion by world leaders to try to fix up some of the problems that we have throughout the world. I pray for unity and compassion by our leaders. But we have great leaders in this room, and I'm confident that this project will be done well. It'll meet the concerns, questions, and needs of people in our communities. Yes, and you saw some outside today who were vocal about this project. I had a meeting with them recently in a community called Sheep's Cove. We tried to explain to them what this project meant. They're crying for engagement. So I say to anybody here from industry, from government, at all levels, when we're talking about this project, make sure there is sufficient and adequate engagement with the people of our communities. It will make things go a little better. Anybody I ask, I say, what do you think about wind energy? They say wind energy is really good. We need wind energy. It's the way to go for our future. Everybody knows that. For me personally, though, I'm a bit of a contradiction on wind energy. While I support wind energy, I'm still driving a vehicle with gasoline, and yes, I'm burning furnace oil in my house. But I'm looking to buy a new house that will be powered by electricity. I'm going to close by saying, in whatever we do in our relationships anywhere, I'd encourage everyone to become the embodiment of our 7 sacred teachings, to always show humility, honesty, respect, truth, courage, wisdom, and always love for one another. Reminds me of the Burt Bacharach song, What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love. I can't sing very well, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, I'll close by saying thank you all for being here. We welcome you to our communities. We look forward to seeing you again. And Chancellor, I hope this won't be your only visit to Newfoundland and to Stephenville. You'll have to come again to see the great work that I think will be done by the people involved in this project. Thank you all. I wish you a good evening. I wish you safe travels. Walaleo. Thank you.
It's been an extraordinary pleasure these past 3 days to have welcomed Chancellor Scholz, Olaf, and a significant delegation of business leaders and thought leaders from Germany to Canada. An opportunity to deepen the conversations that we've been having now over the course of 5 or 6 years since we first met. But more tackle both the challenges we're facing right now as a world, whether it's coming through this pandemic, whether it's dealing with climate change, whether it's dealing with the war in Ukraine, but also building for a stronger future. For many years, we've been talking and hearing about how it's important to make sacrifices, to change our behaviors, to protect our environment. We've also been hearing that there will be economic opportunities that come with taking steps towards being green. But it seems like there have been more challenges and more sacrifices than there have been opportunities and growth that comes from green investments, from clean investments. And what this trip is showing, what this friendship and partnership is showing, is that the time is now for us to start developing that future that includes not just protected environment and a successful fight against climate change, but good, sustainable jobs for families, for communities, a growing economy, and contributions to make the world a better place for everyone who lives in it. And that's what the energy solutions we're talking about here in Stephenville, Newfoundland are. But that's what the entire partnership between Canada and Germany about building a better future in which friends can rely on each other and support each other as we build a better future is all about. And I'm just so pleased to be able to be here with Olaf today and to launch all the conversations and work we're going to have in the coming years together. C'est un grand plaisir de pouvoir accueillir mon ami Olaf Scholz ici à Terre-Neuve et Labrador après 2 jours à Montréal et Toronto, où on a pu parler des enjeux auxquels notre monde fait face, que ce soit la crise économique, la crise causée par la guerre en Ukraine, par la Russie, que ce soit la crise climatique ou la pandémie. Il y a énormément de défis auxquels on fait face. On est aussi en train de démontrer concrètement qu'il y a des opportunités. Il y a des solutions pour non seulement protéger la planète, mais créer de bons emplois et un avenir fort pour tout le monde. Alors je suis très très content de toute l'énergie qu'on a pu bâtir en parlant d'énergie et de l'avenir ensemble. Et j'ai bien hâte de continuer avec Olaf et avec des amis et partenaires à travers le monde, d'assurer que le Canada devienne un endroit pour fournir de l'énergie propre à une planète carboneutre. Merci tout le monde. Olaf.
Das war jetzt eine sehr...
This has been a very impressive tour through Canada. We've seen many places. It's a huge country with great prospects for the future and tremendous opportunities for Canada, for the people of Canada, but also for the whole world and also for the cooperation with our country. We have felt every time that the future is palpable, it's tangible. We can change the world and reach a carbon-neutral economy that remains an economy that creates good jobs, safeguards jobs, and that our countries can succeed to remain competitive, successful industrialized nations on the world market. And getting started now, moving out of this story and making it real, using the technologies that have existed in a new scale is something that we have seen now. We are standing at a place that will be of even more importance for the development of the world economy, because this is about producing huge volumes of green hydrogen. We have seen in many fields that this plays a role in Canada. We've seen that there are also opportunities in terms of rare minerals and materials. This helps us to generate the economic development for digitalization, for combating climate change. Taken together, this is a huge success, but the most important thing during my visit is our friendship, the friendship between Germany and Canada. Two countries have found one another, they fit together well, they have similar ambitions and goals and ideas about how we can stop man-made climate change, and also what it means to stand together, also vis-à-vis the huge challenge posed by Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. It is a wonderful friendship between our two countries and a wonderful friendship between the two of us. And I think we can build on this in the future. Thank you very much.
So what guarantees can you give that each of the projects under development in Atlantic Canada will undergo thorough environmental assessment?
We have a rigorous and robust process in Canada where projects are assessed either at the provincial or the federal level. And as enthusiastic as we are about moving forward into a clean energy future, we want to make sure it's done right. Because, quite frankly, that's what we expect, that's what communities expect, that's what our partners expect. That's one of the advantages of working with Canada, to know that we are a reliable, positive source of products, supplies of energy. So yes, we will have a rigorous process by which these projects are approved, but I am extremely optimistic about the future we are building together, and we're going to make sure we're getting it right.
Prime Minister, Andreas Rinke from Reuters. May I follow up? We have seen protests on the way to this place. Now we have a hydrogen partnership with Germany, which says that you start delivering in 2025. So I was wondering if you are really sure that you can actually fulfill this promise. Und Herr Bundeskanzler, eine Frage an Sie. Sie haben sich jetzt jeden Tag etwas optimistischer über den Bezug auch von LNG-Gas geäußert aus Kanada. Haben Sie konkrete Zusagen?
LNG gas delivered from Canada, have you had any assurances from the Prime Minister that Canada will deliver LNG to Germany?
First of all, it's not just about one government deciding that we need to move towards a cleaner, greener future. It's citizens around the world and people across Canada who understand how important it is to fight climate change and build good jobs and prosperity. The world is going to need energy in the coming decades. It also is going to need to make sure that that energy is net zero, that we have processes that aren't putting at risk future generations or our current planet. And that means that the will of Canadians to be that solution that the world needs in a net zero future is irrespective of politics, is focused on how we're going to build the kinds of future, the kinds of careers, the kind of jobs, the kinds of solutions that the world needs. Because these are all projects that are happening by private sector investments, with private sector partners. Governments have a role in continuing to encourage them and make sure they're done properly and get the regulations right. But there is a market case for this. This is where the world is going, and that's going to happen. And I'm just excited that we're able to do it amongst friends like this.
Yes, everybody has understood that Germany is among the countries that have the most ambitious goals when it comes to stopping man-made climate change and developing a carbon-neutral economy. Everybody has understood that we see this as a technology project and that we want to have good, safe jobs for the future. And since this is the case, I think people understand that in the time frame until we've reached that point, we will have to import gas, and we will stand united when it comes to supporting Ukraine in its defense against the Russian aggression. And I think everybody understands this.
Prime Minister, Herr Bundeskanzler, one question to both of you, if I may. You spent 3 days together now. A more personal question: what did you learn about the other person now in terms of politics or maybe personality, whatever you want to answer? Und eine Frage, wenn Sie erlauben, Herr Bundeskanzler, es gibt ja währenddessen eine große Debatte.
There is a big debate going on about masks on the government plane and the issue as a whole. The Cabinet will discuss the rules for the fall season. Do you think it is okay that different regulations exist for government flights and commercial flights, or should it be harmonized, and in which way? Thank you. Our cooperation has a long tradition. We've known each other for quite a long time, and I've said that in the beginning. Justin mentioned this as well. We started discussing intensively in the town hall of Hamburg at the St. Matthew's meal, where we discussed major questions of our cooperation already and the questions of the CETA trade agreement. So it is something very special that after the many meetings we had at different occasions before I became Chancellor, and the many meetings we had since, that we were now able to get the ratification for CETA on board in the Bundestag. I think this is very fitting. We have always communicated very well, also on a personal level. We have had great exchanges. We have the same understanding of progressive politics, aiming at workers, people who work every day, deserving respect, that they have to be able to rely on the fact that society stands together. And this is of utmost importance these days. So our political goals fit very well, and on a personal level, we're also doing very well. Concerning your question about masks, we have clear rules concerning the German government aviation, and I'm glad that we were able to prepare legislation for the fall, legislation that we need in order for everybody to take the right decisions that will be needed, and that we have a legal framework for that.
As Olaf said, we've known each other for more than 5 years, and one of the things that connected us right away is an understanding that the only way to build a strong future for our societies, for our country, is to make sure that everyone gets to be part of it. That's what progressive policies are about. That's what fighting climate change together and growing the economy is all about. So we've always connected deeply on those issues. Olaf's leadership at the G7 this year has brought that to new levels with a level of responsibility given the return of war to Europe, given our responsibilities towards the global south, and we've always connected on that. On a personal level, we spent a lot of time together, but over the past 2 days I've gotten to know better Olaf's wonderful sense of humor. He's great when you make him laugh, and we've really, I think, deepened the friendship that we have together, but also the friendship for our people and our countries. It's a difficult time in politics everywhere around the world. But the ability to do this important work alongside friends and allies that understand how important the choices we're making and come at it with a thoughtful, responsible, but deeply human approach like Olaf does is just a privilege to
Chancellor, there are those who say...
Non, désolé, c'est mon tour, merci. Monsieur le Premier ministre, j'aimerais vous revenir sur l'entente qui a été annoncée tout à l'heure. Tout ça me semble pour l'instant un peu aspirationnel. Je m'explique, c'est qu'il y a beaucoup encore d'infrastructures à bâtir. Le projet n'est pas adopté encore. Et on ne sait pas non plus de quoi va avoir l'air la demande pour l'hydrogène canadien dans quelques années. Alors ma question, c'est comment vous allez vous assurer que vous allez respecter les objectifs que vous vous êtes fixés aujourd'hui? Puis en sous-question, est-ce que vous allez accélérer le processus réglementaire pour le projet ici à Terre-Neuve? J'aimerais vous entendre en anglais aussi après.
Bien sûr. Tout d'abord, ça fait des années, sinon des décennies, qu'on a les technologies
pour créer de l'hydrogène de plusieurs différentes façons. Les technologies existent, ils sont utilisés à petite échelle dans bien des processus à travers le monde, y compris au Canada depuis longtemps avec Ballard Fuel Cells. Mais le contexte et le code marché n'ont jamais été là jusqu'à présent pour le faire à grande échelle. Or, l'invasion injustifiable de la Russie de l'Ukraine a changé la donne de façon profonde et a accéléré un processus qui allait peut-être prendre encore plusieurs années, peut-être une décennie avant qu'on fasse un flip vers l'hydrogène. Alors tout ce qu'on a vu ici, tous ces projets ont été développés depuis l'invasion de la Russie, ont été vraiment avancés de façon accélérée depuis cette invasion, parce que l'opportunité est là, la demande est là. Évidemment, dans le court terme, oui, il y a un besoin de plus de gaz, plus de pétrole pour remplacer ce que la Russie n'est plus en train d'envoyer. Mais dans le moyen terme, et on parle de 5 ans, on a besoin d'accélérer cette transition pour être moins dépendant sur les carburants fossiles, pour créer des sources d'énergie fiables. Et la demande d'énergie va augmenter tellement dans les décennies à venir et que cette énergie se doit d'être carboneutre. Le Canada, les provinces de l'Atlantique sont extrêmement bien positionnées pour ça. Donc, si vous voulez voir des garanties, mais vous n'avez pas à m'écouter, vous allez juste savoir qu'il y a des compagnies allemandes qui sont en train de signer des accords, de mettre de l'argent devant parce qu'ils savent que c'est une solution qui doit aller. Alors, des accords signés entre des compagnies privées, ça démontre à quel point il y a une tangibilité et même une inévitabilité à ce processus que le Canada devienne une source d'énergie propre dans un monde carboneutre. The technologies, the technologies that we're seeing, that we've seen today to create hydrogen have been around for years, for decades, for almost a century in some cases. But the market case and the need to scale up was coming, but wasn't quite here yet. Russia's illegal and unjustifiable invasion of Ukraine has meant that everything gets accelerated, that the pivot to reduce our carbon emissions, to replace oil and gas from Russia for Europe, but to accelerate the transition towards cleaner energy is happening now. And the innovative companies we're seeing here are just the tip of the iceberg. But if we want to know how real it is, look at how it's not just governments talking about it, it's businesses signing deals that involve real money because they know that this is going to be needed in the coming years and in the coming decades. And Canada is very excited to be part of this net zero transition world and be that energy supplier. In terms of regulatory processes, we need to get this right, not just for the next year or two, but for the next decades and for the next generations. And that means the processes have to be done rigorously and properly. Yes, with as much encouragement as we can to get them done quickly, but it has to be done rigorously if we're going to set up the success that we're going to need for many decades to come. So we will always take seriously our regulatory responsibilities shared between provinces and the federal government. Les processus réglementaires, bien sûr, vont être respectés parce qu'on ne veut pas juste de la réussite court terme. On a besoin qu'on crée des industries qui vont durer des décennies, des générations, et pour ça, nous allons franchir les étapes responsables de façon rigoureuse.
Prime Minister Trudeau, my questions are both for you. Mercedes Stevenson from Global News. It's been a while since we've seen you, so I have two somewhat unrelated questions that I'm going to roll into one because they're both very important issues. The first is about somebody who was hired by the Department of Heritage to run an anti-racism project. This person had a very well-known history of anti-Semitic statements in the past. How was this person hired, and how will your government make sure something like that never happens again? My second question for you is about a Canadian veteran who was told that he could undertake medically assisted dying when he called Veterans Affairs for treatment about his traumatic brain injury. I know there's an investigation into that, but there's a lot of concern in the veteran community that the government doesn't care about them and you've not done enough. What do you have to say to that veteran and his family and other Canadian veterans?
Well, the link, Mercedes, between your two questions are they're both absolutely unacceptable actions. The individual who was hired by an organization funded by the Government of Canada put out statements that were absolutely unacceptable and reprehensible, and therefore the organization that hired him has seen its funding suspended, and we will continue to follow up because that is not something that we can accept as a government. Secondly, in the case of the veteran, it's absolutely unacceptable that this veteran would have been suggested or offered medical assistance in dying. That is not the duty of care that we have towards veterans. There is a full investigation going on as to how that happened, and we're going to ensure that it never happens again. Merci tout le monde.